It's all to do with Brexit, isn't it, Neil? Morning, afternoon,
No,
rather.
it's all to do with the French government, of course, because they're the ones who are causing the delays. France is clearly a hostile power, and the EU has a general policy of punishing us for having the temerity to want to govern ourselves rather than be run by
It,
unelected technocrats
well, you could
in
say, to
Brussels.
be honest, Neil, you could say that it was the fault of the French yesterday because they were coming up with all sorts of excuses as to why
Yeah.
their people weren't at the booth. But they are at the booths today. I'm told there's actually 12 of them for 10 booths. So what more could they do?
Well, I don't know what the situation is on the ground
Well, I've just
in
told
Kent
you.
at the moment. Well, yes, I know, but I don't know how big the queues are or whatever. But anyway, it's quite clear that the French have a deliberate policy, as indeed does the EU, trying to punish us for Brexit. Take the problems in Northern Ireland, for example. 20% of all the checks throughout the whole of the EU borders takes place on that little border in Northern Ireland, and yet a fraction of 1% of EU trade crosses it. So, I mean, that tells you all you need to know about the official mindset behind the kind of problems that we see in Kent. And France, as we know, as its Minister of the Interior, Gérald Darmanin, who is sort of violently anti-British, has given us no help whatsoever in coping with the migrant crisis of people coming from France to this country. We obviously don't think that Brexit is a very bad thing as far as they're concerned, but we have all sorts of problems with either the French government or the EU authorities. We don't have these problems anywhere else in Europe, as far as I'm aware. France does have a long-standing psychological problem with Britain because either we've defeated them over the centuries or we've saved
Oh,
them, and they don't like either.
we're not going back to Agincourt. I'm sorry, we're just not going to go there. I do want to ask you though, if you don't believe me, have a listen to what Doug Bannister said. He's the chief exec, the CEO of the port, and he's been making a series of interviews today. He said today that the 12 French immigration officers who were manning the booths yesterday, if they'd been there yesterday, they're there today, but if they'd been there yesterday, the major disruption would have been unlikely. So you can't say that the French are trying to penalise us because they've got their guys there now.
Well, there shouldn't be a problem in that case, should there?
Well, it's
But there was a
getting
problem
better.
yesterday. Yeah, well, if the problem of the delays was caused by the absence of French officials yesterday, that's the answer to your question, isn't it? And if the number of French officials is today sufficient to deal with the backlog, all well and good. But let's be in no doubt that the cause of the problem was France, not Britain or Brexit.